Hey, dog. You gonna leave me alone? Huh, puppy? That's my big girl. Hey, guys. Oh, my gosh. Merry Christmas, you all. What a better thing to do than to do a live stream right before Christmas. Okay. I'll give it just a couple more minutes because I'd like to cover metalworking with you guys because it's something that I do kind of often and not too many biomeds know about it. So we're going to go over some metalworking and show you some of the tips and tricks and all the different tools that I use on the daily. So let's give it just a few more minutes and then I'll start right in on it. Hey, good girl. That's my big puppy. I apologize, you guys. It is storming outside here in Houston. So you're going to hear some rain noise. But it is what it is. All right. How are you guys doing out there? I hope you guys have exciting Christmas because I don't know. I'm on call starting Friday, of all things. Why is it that every time I go to a new hospital, they always put the new guy or the newest guy on call for Christmas? It happens every time, regardless of seniority, regardless of the position. Seems like it's this ongoing game that they always play at hospitals called Screw the New Guy. And I guess it's kind of one of those things where hospitals, they do that so that the guys that have been there a long time, they never ever have to do call on Christmas because there's always new people coming. I don't know. Some of these people have it figured out. I know they do. But this would be like my 6th Christmas that I've had to be on call. So should be good. Now that it's COVID, I don't know about you guys, but normally it is low census, which means there's a low amount of patients during the Christmas week or the 2 weeks following, Christmas. But we are just busy. I don't know about you guys, but I've been extremely busy. And I've got inspections coming up early next year. My all my laboratories are getting their CCAP inspections, and we got JACO coming up this year. It's going to be a really interesting year. But man, so I don't know if you guys have to deal with this very much. Trust me, as you start messing around with medical equipment, people will start coming up to you and asking for your help, especially when they snap off a fastener, which if you guys hear me talk about fasteners, anything that holds something together is called a fastener. All right. So it's not just screws and it's not just bolts. There's different types of screws, and there's this ongoing thing over what a bolt is. But fasteners have different grades, and technicians often will use power tools with fasteners, and they'll either strip them out or they'll break them off, and then you have to go in with metalworking knowledge and solve the problem without jacking up the medical equipment, hopefully. And there's lots of ways of doing it, and there's lots of ways of doing it professionally, and that's some of the stuff that I'd like to share with you guys today. Because I just had one, a technician came up to me, a week ago, and they had a wall scale, a big wall scale, hundreds of pounds it felt like, and it's used for measuring wheelchairs, people in wheelchairs, and people in those mobility scooters. So it's a really heavy duty wall scale. And some of the fasteners had snapped off. And the crazy thing about the fasteners is some of them are much, much harder. And like this one here, stainless steel. Stainless steel is a much harder fastener than something that's brass, or this one here I think is actually a harder grade. You can tell by the yellowish color. But so yeah, I had to go in and I had to figure out a way with very bad access to get the fastener out, and I'm going to show you guys how I did that. Give me just one moment, okay? All right, I have a whole assortment of stuff here because every single situation I run into is going to be so different. You know, I have a lot of experience. Normally, what I do is I keep a file in my toolbox, because if you have a rough edge to your metal, the first thing you're going to do, this is a ball peen hammer. You're going to use the ball peen hammer to shape the metal roundabout to what you need it to be. Well, let me tell you something about Biomeds being underpaid. Ooh, you can get me into a whole tangent on that one. So I've told some other people this story about this biomed I knew. He was a biomed that had been at this hospital for a long time, and I just showed up at this place. I walk in, there's equipment stacked up in the office, right? And when I get in there, there is old stains on the floor and everything. So first thing I did is you get out the old equipment. Just do what you got to do to get it gone. Now you can see the floor. Now you got to clean the floor, because I believe in a presentable shop. Well, I was on my hands and knees with a little toothbrush, scrubbing the floor and trying to get these stains out with a little bit of orange oil. And this dude is sitting over across the room with his legs kicked up. Mind you, I was the team leader for operating rooms. So I had enough pull where I could say, hey, no, you need to get down and you need to be doing this. But I was new. I wasn't, I like easing into it and figuring out what type of technicians people are. And that is what I did. I wanted to see what type of person this guy was. So as I'm there on my hands and knees with a toothbrush, scrubbing the floor and getting these stains out, because doctors would stop by my shop and they would chit chat or they would express their concerns. And I believe in a reasonably clean shop to be presentable professionally. And this dude had his legs kicked up and he was lamenting about how poorly our hospital paid. And I was like, really? That's amazing. And I just kind of shook my head and I continued cleaning the floor. See, the thing is I was paid probably double what he was. The difference is I was on my hands and knees scrubbing the floor. So the short part of the story is that if you are biomed and you want to get paid more, there are ways to get paid more. And it is completely up to the technician. Now, if you want to stay at the same hospital your entire career, I'm warning you right now, you are probably not going to get paid as well. And your career is not going to progress as quickly. That's just the way it is. That's the game, okay? But if you're interested in your career and you are interested in maybe shopping around, because by going into different hospitals, you are expanding your breadth of experience, okay? And this dude had been at this hospital, I think, almost his entire career. So for me, I got out of the military, and this would have been my third hospital after the military. And every time I move between hospitals, I go between $3,000 and $5,000 pay increase at least. Every time I go between hospitals. The point is you don't leave a job until you have your next job, right? So there's no rush. If you got a job that's reasonable, it's paying the bills, You stay there. Meanwhile, you continue to improve yourself. You continue to improve your ability to be a good candidate for positions, and you compete. And that's the short of it. I mean, biomeds, I'll tell you right now, I'm a Biomed 3 / Biomed 4 team leader, or whatever you want to call me. And there's only a couple nurses that are going to be paid more than me, like nurse practitioners and, some stuff like that. And I'm not bragging. What I'm saying is, like, if you do things right and you continue to expand on your own knowledge, you can make it. I mean, you can specialize. If you go into lab analyzers or you go into imaging equipment or something, I mean, you can make some money. You really can. Right now, I'll tell you right now, people that do ventilators, you work on ventilators, man. You want to move around, you can make some money right now. Last I knew, some hospitals had like a $20,000 signing bonus for ventilator guys. Just got to be ready to make that jump, okay? Hey, Angela, how's it going over there in Bahamas? We're all kind of jealous of you. Have I job hopped in the same state? I have job hopped in the same city. I was in Charleston, South Carolina, which is a beautiful place, by the way. And I went from Roper Hospital, which is, let's say a medium-sized hospital, I went across the bridge to a smaller hospital where I ran the show. I was the biomed in charge, I guess. And I didn't stay there very long because the Medical University of South Carolina called me up, and I talked with them about taking over for their operating rooms, which was an awesome gig. What an awesome gig. I missed the people there, and it was just a really good hospital. They believe in training their biomeds, really good management there. So I can't say enough good stuff about them, because I've been to some really bad places and I've been to some really good places. But anyway, in the same city, I went to 3 different hospitals. And if I stayed there, hell, I might have went to 4 hospitals. I don't know. But right now, this would be my second hospital in Houston. I was at one very large hospital. And then I went on to a second very, very large hospital. And that's where I'm currently working. So job hopping and shopping around and constantly improving yourself is what you do. What do I look for in a good biomed? Man, Angela, don't brag. It's raining outside and it's humid again here in Houston. What do I look for in a good biomed? Oh my gosh. I'll tell you what, I talked about this with some people online because somebody asked me, what do you consider a good biomed? Because another respectable biomed in this area, she wrote that it's tough to find good teammates, good biomeds. And I said, yeah, it is really tough to find a good biomed. And somebody commented beneath me and said, what do you consider a good biomed? And a good biomed is somebody that's curious and is willing to understand the failure of a piece of equipment. And they have the fortitude to correct it once they figure out what's wrong, okay? They have to be trainable and they have to be self-motivated, all right? That's the baseline. I've had people that never went to biomed school that turned out to be excellent biomeds because they had the fortitude to do what's right when it needed to be done. And I didn't have to babysit them, okay? I could tell them this needs to happen and they would just do it, all right? I would check up on them every once in a while as a team leader, but the ones that you have to babysit, they're the ones that can ruin your life and just make you miserable. So in a good biomed, I need somebody that is willing to learn, that is trainable. Like after I train him, I might have to remind him every once in a while, but he's willing to learn or she's willing to learn, and they have to be trainable. Like after they learn something, I expect you to be able to at least figure it out in the future. Maybe ask, but I need you to take that extra responsibility. And that's the other thing, is a lot of biomeds do not want extra responsibility. You want to make more money? It's going to be more stress, and it's going to be more responsibility, and it's going to be rewarding, all three, but it's going to be more stress. I woke up at 3 o'clock this morning, and I was at the hospital at 3 o'clock this morning, or 3:45 this morning, and I was scanning medical equipment at 3:45 this morning. I slept like 4 or 5 hours. So if I look like I'm dragging ass here, it's because I am. This would be my second or third night in a row that we go in and we're inventorying medical equipment. Guys, I got some crazy stuff to tell you. I've been working with some software developers, and my spreadsheet that I use for finding medical equipment that's not on record and finding medical equipment that's currently got an open PM. Well, I'm rewriting it, and I'm making it into a program, a real program, where you have your room, your department, and your building. You type those in, and then you scan everything that you find. And then at the very bottom, you have two options. One of them is save and export, and the other one is print. Very simple interface, but it's going to take two files. One of them is going to be all your open work orders, and the other one is going to be all your assets. All right, so it's going to be your inventory and your open work orders. Now, it could be your team's work orders. It could be you as just a technician. I don't care, and the program doesn't care. But that makes it extremely versatile. So if we as a department have a huge amount of open work orders, and I'm trying to find all these devices, whether or not they belong to me or some other technician, well, I can just open all the work orders, put them in this tab, and just run it and start scanning with a barcode scanner. And so far this week, I have scanned 4,200 devices. 4,200. And that is a lot, man. That is a lot. That's me and one other technician. This other dude's awesome. And I'll tell you what, if I say I'm going to be there at 4 a.m., this guy's standing there waiting at 4 a.m. What a good technician. So I'm writing this program, and I'm debating how I'm going to distribute it. I'm probably just going to hand it out for free. And you know, all you got to do is export, you know, certain files, put them in, and run it, you know, with a barcode scanner. I got a $50 barcode scanner that plugs into this laptop right here, and I just walk around and start scanning items. It tells me, hey, it's got an open work order, or hey, this device, I don't know what it is, it's not on record. And you know, I went through one operating room about every 3 or 4 minutes this morning. And that was a hell of a lot of operating rooms, by the way. It was a lot of operating rooms. So it's been a long day. But let's see. Your company's looking to hire. Let's do it. I'll tell you what. I'm always looking for my next new job. And it's not that I'm anxious to go someplace. I will never ever stop looking. Like if somebody says, "Hey, we'd like to partner up with you, and we're going to offer you, you know, $5,000-$10,000 more than what you're currently making. Come on in. These are going to be your responsibilities." Shit. All right, let's do it. Let's do it, man. I will never say no to a job interview. It could be something in a state I'm completely not interested in going to, but I want to hear what they have to say. And, you know, they're probably going to ask me a bunch of questions, and it's going to improve your ability to interview, which is, you know, obviously going to make or break whether or not you get a job. So let's see, what else do we have here? I would like to know what company it is, though. I'd love to hear what companies are hiring, if anything, because I put it out here for everybody else to apply for these jobs. What parts of your job do you do that are outside the typical scope of biomeds? And that brings you to today's topic. Most biomeds will look at you like you're crazy if you start drilling out something. And the other biomeds that are motivated enough to start drilling something or to clean up a fastener that's snapped off or broken or whatever, they don't know what the hell they're doing. And they're going to they're going to mess it up. And that's when I have to come in and play cleanup after the fact. So, where do I start, guys? Man, I'll tell you right now, I have so many options across the table right here. Let's start with drill bits. Let's start with, no, screw that. Let's start with stuck fasteners. So let's say you have a fastener that is stuck and you can't get it out. This one here is hex, all right? Well, you should know that there's metric and standard hex. And if there's any slop with the Allen wrench whatsoever, it's the wrong one, okay? I don't care what's going on. It's the wrong wrench. So if you have any slop when you put an Allen wrench in a hex fastener, it is not the right one. I don't care if you feel like you got some tension on it. Do not use it because you're going to mess it up. And when you mess up, then somebody like me's got to come in and try and clean it up and get that fastener out. And if I can't do it, it costs a hell of a lot of money. So use the correct tool for the correct fastener. And most of this other stuff can be avoided. I can just get rid of most of this stuff. Because believe it or not, most of the fasteners I deal with are because the tech used the wrong tool or they're overzealous with a power tool. Okay. You know, throughout my whole entire first 10 years as a Biomed, I hardly ever use battery powered tools because it's too easy to strip out a Phillips head. Or back in the day, we used to have a lot of flat head fasteners and they would get all messed up. If you mess them up, that's what the file's for, to kind of help clean it up. So what I can tell you right now is if you have a fastener that is being very stuck, I have a torch in my tool bag. Not necessarily this one. This one is normally in my stuff that's in my shop. But I've got a miniature torch. And what you are going to do is you are going to heat that fastener up. And the area around the fastener, because the goo juice that got in there, the goo juice, which is the blood, the urine, the whatever, that stuff will just corrode the metals and it makes it impossible to get fasteners out. So I use a torch and I heat up the fastener, especially if it's starting to strip. If it's starting to strip, stop what you're doing. You got to change what you're doing, man, because if you have a Phillips fastener and it's starting to strip out, I'll tell you right now, you put that power driver back on there, you're gonna mess it up, guaranteed. Or even worse, you're gonna snap the head off the fastener, and then you really have a mess. All right. So if you have a fastener that's stuck, especially if you believe that there's some Loctite involved, there's more and more Loctite is being used on medical equipment. And if you don't know what Loctite is, let's see, I know I got some floating around here. All right. Well, this is one type of Loctite. Maybe not the most common. There's blue and red and whatever. But if you have Loctite on a fastener and that fastener is a little bit stuck, heat it up. I believe if it gets past 160 degrees, the properties of the Loctite are null and void. And now you can apply some pressure and maybe a power tool and zip it right out. So if you have fasteners that are a little bit stuck, hit it with some heat and then try and use some motivation. But let's say you do mess up the fastener and now it is completely boogered, all right? Well, there's several options that you have there. Let's say you have a Phillips, something like this guy right here. See that one? Some Phillips are like Chinese grade and they will strip out almost instantly. Like the ones that come with like your TV kits and stuff, you know, the wall mounting kits. Those ones are extremely poor quality and they will strip out almost guaranteed. These ones are stainless steel and they're not so bad, but if you can imagine, some of these medical devices are kept for 10, 15 years if it's a surgical table. That's a lot of goo that can get around that little bad boy. And that's a lot of years of maybe somebody going through with a power tool and tightening it back up. I'll tell you guys, if you ever have a fastener that's coming loose, pull it all the way out, put some Loctite on it. I hope you guys have some Loctite in your tool bags. Then put the fastener back in. Because if you just tighten it up, it's just going to come loose again. And then there's step 2. Step 2 is check all the other fasteners. It's too easy to just tighten up the one fastener that you know is loose, the one that's sticking up, and then you ignore all the other ones that are in the device. And then these ones pop out too. So if they're all loose, you put Loctite on them all. I believe in Loctite, guys. I really do, because it's just one of those things, man. So what do you do if you strip it out? All right, it does happen. It happens all the time. So if you strip out one of these Phillips bits, what you can do, I hope your shop has a Dremel. This is a rotary tool. You know, Dremel's its generic name, I guess. So what you're going to do is you're going to put a hatch, cross hatch pattern, or just a flat line across your fastener. So if it's stripped out, you're going to power this bad boy up and you're going to cut a line across your fastener. And then you're going to use that line to get some grip with a flat blade screwdriver. All right. So right now, if my Phillips is camming out, so camming out is when it does this. See how it's kind of bouncing off the fastener? It's not really grabbing. That's when it's starting to strip. So if it's camming out, one of the things I've found that works really, really well is you get a flat blade. And look at that magic. The flat blade gets deeper penetration into the fastener. So you have more material that you can, again, try to get it out with. So flat blade. I keep flat blade screwdrivers around particularly for that. They're like consumables because you're probably going to mess them up, but who cares? You throw it out when it gets messed up. So that's a Phillips. If a Phillips gets messed up, you put a slot across it and you use your flat blade screwdriver and you try and get it out. Allens. These Allens, nope. Allens. When you get an Allen or a hex that messes up, that's when you have a real problem, because there's not too much that can solve your problem. Except, what have we here? All right. I keep a set of garbage Torx. I don't know if you guys can see it. Some people call them star bits, but it's called the Torx. Because if you mess this guy up and it's completely rounded out, you can take a Torx and you can line it up and you can beat it in. So some of those cheap Chinesium Torx, which I have a whole hell of a lot of them around here. What do I got? Oh yeah. In fact, I just had to do this yesterday for a tiny little Allen fastener. So you see these little bits? They're infamous. Right? So you take one of these little bits, you find the one that closely matches the hole of the Allen that is stripped out, and you beat it in there. All right? And then when you beat it in, you have two options. One option is to try and use your power tool with a lot of force to get it to back out. You might strip it. So your other option, let's see. So your other option is something like this. I have just a regular box end wrench. Of course, it's going to fall out. Regular box end wrench. You have your hex bit, right? Just like that. So you put this in the fastener. and you take a little hammer and you keep tapping on the fastener, and this will give you the leverage to turn the fastener. I get so much stuff out this way, it's not even funny. People are amazed when you whip out a little wrench and a tiny little hammer and you start tap, 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 tap. And they think it's like a joke, but I'll tell you what, these little miniature hammers and a tiny little Allen wrench. But the thing you have to remember is these little torque spits, like this guy here. This is what, a T10. These guys are like a consumable, all right? So if you mess one of these up, don't feel bad, throw it out, all right? You can go to like Harbor Freight or Amazon, order a whole pack of these, okay? I have so many of these different types of torque spits that, I mean, as soon as you mess it up, you pound it into a fastener that was stripped out, just throw out the bit, all right? Trust me, you get a $3,000 piece of medical equipment back up and going for, what, a 25-cent piece? Just get rid of it. So that is a super, super good trick that you should know. Use an Allen, use a Torx to get out your Allen fasteners. Not too many people know about that, and almost nobody I know does it. Oh, let's see. I got so many tools here, guys. It's crazy. All right. Sorry, guys. I haven't been reading the comments too well. I hope your shop has a Dremel. Useful. The other thing that we use Dremels for, you see this little guy right here? This is a grinding stone, okay? So let's say you have a fastener that breaks off at an angle, right? Because it's very, very rare that they break off flush. They usually break off at an angle. And if they break off at an angle, then you can never get a drill bit on it, okay? You're going to break this little tiny drill bit as soon as you go to try and center it. Don't do it. If you ever have a fastener that breaks off and it's at an angle, it's not perfectly flat, you need to take a Dremel and you take this little grinding wheel and you grind it down flat, okay? You can do it to these tiny little guys. You can do it to big guys like these, but you want to try and get your fastener as flat as possible. And sometimes that means you have to grind away at the surface material to make sure that your fastener is flat, okay? It happens. I mean, you just got to grind it down till your fastener's flat, and then you use one of these. This is called an automatic center punch. All right, so what this guy does is when you have your fastener shaved off flat, you take this guy here and you put it center of that little fresh fastener that you ground down. You push on it. Hear that? There's a little tiny anvil inside here that comes down and slams on it, and it leaves a tiny indent. See if I can get the camera to pick it up. You see that little indent in the flat of this fastener? That's a very important thing to have when you're drilling, because what that does is it creates a guide point for your drill. Now, the first thing you're always going to do is drill with a small drill bit. All right, this tiny little guy right here, we call that a pilot hole, and your pilot hole is what's going to guide the big drill bit, like something like this. I'm not going to drill something out with this right away. Never. You're always going to drill with something smaller and make a pilot hole. And that pilot hole is what's going to guide your big drill bit in the direction it needs to go. Because the bigger the drill bit, the larger the ability for it to walk all over the place, okay? So you don't want it walking, you want it to go straight in the direction that you intended. And you do that with a pilot hole. So let's say I need to drill out a fastener. This is the next most important thing I'm going to say here tonight, guys. I promise you, everybody messes this one up, all right? Everybody. And it just irritates me because people borrow my drill bits all the time. The reason they borrow my drill bits is because I have a complete drill bit index. That's what it's called. Like this is an index and this is an index. I have complete indexes. I don't break drill bits usually because experience, you know. And one of the first things experience tells you to do, smaller the drill bit, the gentler you have to be. All right. So one of the things you guys have to know about all metals is the harder the material, the slower you have to drill. All right. So you can see the top of my drill has different speeds. You see that's not very fast. This is speed number 3. Extremely fast. Okay. So if I'm drilling something like stainless steel, which is the most common fastener that we see in hospitals, you are going to use the slowest speed that you can possibly use, because the faster the speed, the more friction. The more friction, the more likely it is for the drill bit to go from sharp to rounded, okay? You cook drill bits from heat. It happens all the time. You see guys, they'll get in there and they're like this, just drilling the hell out of something, and you can see this. Let's take a little vise right here. So if I have to drill something out, I'm going to start it really slow. You can see by my drill there, it's going very slow, okay? And you're going to watch the hole that starts to happen and put a spot of oil. You see how I just squirted it out a little bit? And I'm going to put some oil down the drill bit. You see it coming down the drill bit? So my bit is wet and my surface is wet. If you have sharp drill bits because you didn't booger them up, you go nice and slow. And what you will get out of that is nice, perfect metal chips, all right? Metal shavings. People mess up these tiny little drill bits all the time. You go to any shop and all the small drill bits are broken. They're gone, all right? Always use sharp drill bits. Always use some of the best drill bits you can get. You should know that there's different types. I know I'm cramming like a lot of stuff into one little video, okay? You can see the 2 different colors of these drill bits here. One of them, the one that is kind of yellowish, this one has a coating. And you see it right here, titanium nitride. It's a coating to help the drill bit lubricate a little bit and keep its sharp edge, right? It's a hard coating that's put on electrochemically. So there's all different coatings for these drill bits. You can see the other drill bit is black. This one is called a black oxide bit. Again, the black oxide is harder than the steel of the drill bit itself. So what they do is they coat the drill bit in something that's harder than the metal, and that way there, until the coating wears off, you know, it helps you cut harder materials. Like you guys should know, files are extremely hard material, all right? Some materials are way softer. I got aluminum, and then I got, what the heck is that? Is that stainless steel? No, it's nickel plated. But anyway, depending on the hardness of the metal, which most of us are going to be dealing with stainless steel screws, you're going to use sharp drill bits, you're going to use cutting oil, and you're going to use slow speeds, okay? People always get in a hurry and they just sit there and cook the hell out of their drill bits. And I can go up to the index and look at the point, okay? I kind of do this twist test on my finger, and you can feel it scraping away some of your skin, right? You know you got a sharp drill bit if it does that. Versus some of the old ones, like this guy here. Oh, still sharp, still sharp. Some of these drill bits were used to make this guy. There are hundreds of holes that I had to drill to make this guy right here. And every single piece of this was designed, cut, and it was scribed. Let's see, where's my scribe? Every single piece was laid out by hand, and this is called the scribe. And what you do is you scratch the area that you want to drill, and then you put your drill bit there. The same exact reason that you use this automatic center punch is because you want that drill bit to go right where you told it to go. A natural tendency of a drill bit is when you start drilling, it wants to migrate off its path. That's just what they do. You know, it's the product of being rotated while you are putting downward pressure. It wants to rotate out of its initial position. So you use a scribe or an automatic center punch to create a hole. So all these pieces on here that I had to manufacture, I got some blocks up and under there. Those were all done by hand with a caliper and a scribe. And it was not easy. It took some time, but if you know what you're doing, it's not that bad. So guys, one of the reasons I want to talk to you guys about metalworking is because biomeds mess up so many thousands of dollars worth of medical equipment because they apply really poor technique when they're dealing with a metal problem. Either they drill too fast, either they use the wrong tool when they're pulling a fastener out, they don't use heat, they don't realize that there's Loctite on the device. So what do you do if you have to drill out the fastener? Well, let's just say you get the fastener out, okay? We drilled it out, we're good. Now you have to fix the hole. There's lots of ways to fix the hole. I don't know if you guys are familiar with these, but these are called taps, all right? So this is a straight tap, and this is called the twist tap. Personal favorite. Taps are used to cut the threads in the material that are all boogered up. So if, let's say this guy here came loose and the users continued to use it, what this guy will do is it wiggles around in its hole and it messes up all those threads. So what you can do is either take this guy out and re-drill it and then re-tap it to a larger diameter and a larger thread pitch, which means now you have to use a larger fastener, or you can return it to its original thread pitch using one of these. Let's see, what do we got? So if you have to return an object to its original thread pitch, there's a couple different ways of doing it. One way is to drill it out, which these handy dandy kits come with the drill bit, and you put a helicoil in. Now I did a video on helicoils. They're a very cool device, but it requires a thicker material. Let's see. I'm not going to worry about it. I do have a whole bunch of aluminum and stuff down here. I'd show you guys what it does. But this will actually replace the threads that were boogered up in the material. Well, let's say the material's not thick enough for this. What do you do? I also did a video on these guys right here. This is called a thread cert or a nut cert. You see that? And what this guy does is you put it in the material. You use this giant device over here, and you squeeze it, and just like a pop rivet, which is a pop rivet is like a stud that goes in and expands and it holds two materials together. This guy will expand on like a sheet metal or a thin piece of metal, and it gives you a threaded hole. So that is a thread cert, and these are helicoils. You can find both of these off Amazon, and they're very inexpensive. So if you have users that love tearing up their medical equipment, I highly suggest maybe taking a look into some of these kits. It's like what, 30, 40, 50, $60, depending on what kit you get. And the kit comes with all different sizes. So just to have them sitting in the corner of your shop, just in case, both these kits have saved the day, at least one. All it takes is one repair, and you just paid for all these kits, every single one of them. Let's see. Stardust, you said, what's going on? What can I answer for you? I'm talking about metalworking, and particularly metalworking on medical equipment, because medical equipment uses much better quality fasteners. They're much harder. They're a pain in the ass. If you booger these up, or if the users booger them up, so you have to drill them out, it is an absolute pain in the butt. What's the orange oil? I use, I'll tell you what I have here. One of the oils I have here is CRC 336. And shoot, I don't know if I can show you guys. I have a whole bunch of woodworking equipment and other stuff like vices. And the good thing about this oil is it will dry, and it leaves a thin film on the base material, and it prevents corrosion. So that's CRC 336. It's an excellent product. It also has a really high flash point, and a flash point is the point at which it catches on fire. Okay, so let's say I'm drilling something, my drill bit gets extremely hot, you're cooling it down with oil. Well, imagine if you were to shoot some gasoline down there, it'd catch on fire almost instantly. So we use oils that have a higher flash point. WD-40, although it's not the best cutting oil. I use CRC, and the other material, the other oil I use all the time is this stuff right here called fluid film. This is the stuff, let me tell you. I use fluid film on the bottom of my Jeep. It keeps it looking like it's brand new, straight off the showroom. No rust on the bottom of my Jeep. I use this on my drill press. I use it on the rails for my CNC machine. You see those ball screws right there? They all have fluid film on them. So they look like they're still wet, and it does stay wet, really. And it stinks a little bit because it's made from lanolin. If any of you guys grew up on a farm, lanolin will remind you of a horse barn, okay? Because lanolin is what we used to apply on saddles and leather work. So this always reminds me of back home working on the farm, because it's it stinks for the first week or so, but after that it just leaves a perfect coating on the metal. And I'm in Houston, guys. Houston has high humidity. If you can't tell, it's warm right now, man. It's like 70 some degrees outside, but it's really humid, and tools do not like humidity, not at all. Let's see. So I've got some of these precision gauges. This is an angle gauge for 40 for setting up woodworking equipment. You can notice that there is no rust on it whatsoever. I've had this guy for a long time because I coat it with this guy right here. So that just goes to show you. Is there any other questions I can answer for you guys? I know I covered a hell of a lot of stuff that probably nobody cares about. But the day is going to come when you are taking something apart or trying to put something together, and your fastener either breaks off or it strips out, and you're going to be like, oh hell, what do I do now? And me and the rest of the Biomed community, we'll always be there for you guys to help you out. All you got to do is reach out to everyone. But if not, if you want to like go off on your own and study up, do some research before you start doing some heavy cutting, okay? And don't make the mistake of using high speeds. All right, either high speeds with this guy because you're putting a fastener fast, or you're taking it out too fast, or high speeds with this guy, you're drilling it like a nut. I'll tell you, so many guys just go crazy with drills, man, and they just cook their drill bit sets. So anyway, man, there's so much other stuff I want to talk to you guys about. And I'm sorry, I completely understand that metalworking is not the most interesting topic, but like I said, it's one of your skill sets to your trade. And guys, it's just one of those things. You're going to have a day where you're going to get stuck and you need this material or this device back up and going, and you have to use your skill set. So if anything, practice, find some old medical equipment and practice drilling out some fasteners. I was going to have some pop rivets here to show you guys pop rivets, but I don't feel like digging them out. They're in the stash over there. Man, it's just crazy. Let's see. Does metalworking involve only specialty tools? I remember one of your videos you mentioned the 90% tool bag. You know something? You are absolutely correct. For metalworking, I'll tell you what. This guy here, for most biomeds, is going to solve so many problems. A simple file, all right? It is what it is. It's a tiny little file. It's in my 90% tool bag. And this guy right here, if you're wearing rubber gloves and you run your hands along something and your glove gets torn, maybe because they smashed a medical equipment, or a boom or something's got a rough edge, just use this guy and just draw it over the edge a few times and round over that sharp bit, because part of it is quality of work and the other part is eventually your users are going to complain about that, man. It's either going to break another piece of medical equipment, it's going to tear hosing or something like that. So if you feel rough edges on medical equipment, use a file and just smoothen them over, okay? One of the other things I have are these guys right here. These are round files. This is also in one of my bags because I use that sometimes with this guy. And believe it or not, I've broken several of these, okay? What is this? Sorry, guys. I have a surprise visitor. What are you doing here?
I'd like to see when you're...
What are you doing here? What's going on?
I like to see when you're recording a video on Mama's computer.
On who? What? Whose computer?
Mama.
Mama never touches this computer, bud.
Yeah, he does.
No, that's my computer. It's Daddy's laptop.
Mama.
That's Daddy's laptop, you nut. Look at it. Right, here, you want to come up?
It looks different from your laptop.
If you can't tell, like, everybody's in the Christmas spirit, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. So, guys, I've broken off several files using them inside a drill like this. But if you have a hole that you need to get just a little bit larger, this is the way you do it. Put it in your drill and then just work it in and out and clean up that hole. And hopefully you don't put too much pressure on it and snap it off, because I've done that a couple times. Hey, what's that? Oh, you nut. All right, guys. So hopefully the other thing that you guys would probably need in your shop is that guy over there. I hope your shop has one of these grinders, okay? Now this is a dual head grinder. You can see I have a wire brush. It's got a brass brush mounted on one side. The other side has got a fine grinding stone, because if you pull out a fastener and let's say the threads are a little boogered up, you can take them to the wire wheel with a set of vice grips. Mind you, it's going to get hot. All right, so use vice grips, okay, guys? So you're going to grip it in with vice grips, and you're going to rotate it on the wire wheel and clean up those threads.
Does it get so hot?
It's going to get real hot, bud.
Real hot?
Burn your hand, you know?
Super spiky?
That's what I said. These guys. Hey, Mike from Trinidad. How you been, man? It's been a while. What about a screw that the head's completely broke off in a hole? That's a good question, Mike, because I just had that problem last week. In the beginning of this video, I described to everyone how I had a fastener that had broke off on both sides of this giant scale, and they wanted me to come on over and they wanted me to drill out these holes. Well, the problem is the side that it broke off, it was at an angle. The key to the back side of the hole. Now, I understand sometimes that's not an option, and then it sucks, okay? It really sucks. But if you have access to the back of the material, and either it's a through hole or it's a almost through hole and you can drill it from the reverse side, I've done both, okay? So if it's a through hole and it's snapped off, then what you do is you come in from the back side and you have a nice, neat flat. And again, you take your automatic center punch and you snap a spot, come through with a tiny drill bit, and you very, very slowly start to cut a divot, okay? Don't just hammer down. I'm saying you start cutting a divot, which means you go really slow, and you start cutting that divot. Make sure it's exactly where you want it. And once you get the divot, then you're going to check the angle of your drill, okay? The problem with a lot of guys is they're used to doing this, right? Well, this is going to bend the drill bit and it's going to snap it off. It's usually what happens. So you're going to make sure that your drill is at a 90-degree angle to your material. And you're going to go really slow, okay? The key is slow. If you snap a fastener off, there's nothing fast about the repair, all right? But if you have it broke off in its hole, I'm hoping that the fastener is large enough where you can drill it with a small enough drill bit and maybe use an easy out set, or come from the back side and drill it out, okay? So you just step it up, go from this size drill bit to one that's slightly larger, then slightly larger, and then slightly larger, until all that's left in the hole is threads. And it's gonna suck. It's gonna take some time. So just cut really slow. If you get tired, put your drill down, take a walk, and come back, okay? My hands get tired all the time when I'm cutting metal. Take a walk, because the next thing that's gonna happen is you're gonna break a drill bit, you're gonna start getting antsy, and you're gonna run the drill bit faster than it should go. So you're gonna start smoking the drill bit, which will round over the edge. And if you guys know anything about metal, as you heat it up, you are changing its physical properties, okay? You do not want to heat up metal because you're changing its physical properties to make it more brittle, okay? That's when stuff breaks, okay? So you're either gonna dull it or you're gonna make it brittle and stuff breaks. So take your time, and if anything, I mean, there are machine shops too, but oh, Kyle, you are absolutely right. Man, you know, I have not had left-hand drill bits in so long, but you are absolutely right. Those things have saved my bacon before. Left-hand drill bits, for all the rest of you, a normal drill bit is right-handed, which means it's going to spin clockwise, okay? A left-handed drill bit is actually the exact opposite. To go down, you spin it counterclockwise, and the spiral that's going around is going in the opposite direction. The key to that is by using the left-handed drill bit, you are applying heat from friction to your fastener. As the fastener heats up, it has the same traits as using a torch, so it helps loosen things up. And then eventually what happens with that left-hand drill bit is your fastener will start to back out on its own. It'll just unscrew itself. In perfect conditions, it unscrews itself. But Kyle, you are absolutely right. Left-hand drill bits can be awesome. I wish I had some. I don't think I have any, which is odd, because I used to have a whole bunch of that stuff. Oh, yes, you're absolutely right. Oh my gosh, you guys, are there any other questions that I can answer for you guys, man? I have, man, look at this. So I take it maybe some of you guys know what this guy is. This is a resistor, okay? Like that little guy in your clock radio. I got this guy because I wanted to do some load testing on some ESUs, and I guess I didn't read the description well enough, and this is a 250 watt resistor. I don't know why I thought it was going to be a smaller component, but this guy is rather large, okay? Look at that beast. This is only, what, 10 ohms? Yes, 10 ohms, plus or minus 1%. So that means at the most it's 11 ohms. How crazy is that? 250 watts. So you could hook an ESU up to this bad boy and just start cooking. But I bought this off eBay completely on accident. And it's just one of those novelties that's going to go on my desk because, I mean, when have you ever seen something that large, like a power resistor? Yeah, that's right, D-Rod. Hey, D-Rod, where are you from, man? I actually have a pretty good idea where most of my users, most of my viewers are from. What? You're a goofball. I tried to get these guys to learn. Actually, they helped me cut a lot of the holes for this guy over here. This one over here, I had them cut a bunch of holes in some of these plates down on the sides and some of the vertical plates back there. I taught them about tapping holes. I taught them about running the drill press over here, and they were doing it. I put them up with safety gear. I had the goggles and everything on, and I taught them about how to set the depth and just run the drill press. And I'll tell you what, that's I can't wait till a little bit older so that I can teach my kids about some of this stuff, man. You are absolutely right. Broken and stuck fasteners is 90% of what we do. Guaranteed. Hey, hey guys. Hey, it's bedtime. Hey, Chuck, Chuck. What are you doing? Guys, I know it seems like I have no control over creature 1 and creature 2, but hey, guys, why don't you go inside? Like, you are out in my shop with no shoes on. What are you doing? Are you a bunch of hillbillies? Like your dad? Yeah. Okay, go unlock the door. One. Vámonos. Come on. I know, you're not going to the doggy door anymore. Come on. Go night. Okay. These guys, they know when I'm recording every single time. For metalworking, most of the stuff that we are going to have to deal with is going to be stuck or loose fasteners. If you have to go to welding or something like that in medical equipment, it's a big no-no. It's a huge no-no because the integrity of the part is now compromised. So unlike most other areas like automotive or whatever, if the integrity of the part is compromised, that's it, you're done. And if that means you have to dispose of the equipment, then you have to dispose of the equipment. It happens. But I can leave you on one other thing. There's one very important piece to metalworking. The edges of metal are always sharp. So if you can find one of these, which is a chamfer bit, they're inexpensive. They come in little kits, or you can just buy the single bit. They fit right in your impact driver or your drill, and they will cut the edges of the hole just tiny amount at an angle so that there's no sharp edges. It leaves a very professional finish. And sometimes if you have a fastener like this, you have to cut it at those angles. Guys, give me just one moment. I gotta put my kids in the house. I hear them outside running around. Just one moment, guys. What are you guys doing? Ah, you guys. All right. Guys, I am so sorry about that. The creatures, they invade my space constantly, and they're welcome to do so because all they see this is Daddy's workshop, and they don't understand, you know. So I apologize for that. What else can I answer for y'all? I highly suggest you guys get some sort of vise because stuff gets hot, and metal shavings. See right here, I got metal shavings all over my desk. I'll have to sand that out later. It's a problem. If you do metal work at all, you're going to get burned and you're going to get metal slivers, guaranteed. It's just part of the trade, and you just deal with that. I try and keep my area as clean as possible, and that's why when I'm doing metal work, I'll keep a vacuum like this right near where I'm drilling, because you want to keep your shavings local to where you're cutting. There's nothing worse than getting like metal shavings in your shoe and you track them all around your workshop. It's pretty bad, guys. Oh, let's see. Hold on just one second. I'm gonna read through some comments because do I ever use epoxy? That's a good question. It depends on the nature of the problem. If I'm using epoxy, the only time I've ever used it is when I have a cracked case, and more specifically when you have a, let's say, a threaded insert in a plastic. So if you have a metal insert stud and that stud breaks off, and you know when you clamshell a device and sometimes like half of it comes off, well, you unscrew that stud and you can stick it back on the other side of the case and you put epoxy around it. And I mean, if you have to, you have to. But, you know, when in doubt, just order a replacement case. Sometimes it's not an option. Sometimes devices are old. Sometimes it's the doctor's favorite item, no longer supported. You know, there's lots of reasons, but sometimes they want the device, you know, back in a half hour. I've done that before. So if you're going to use epoxy, absolutely, man. But mind you, super glue, I do not encourage ever using super glue, ever. Super glue is a temporary fix, okay? It's garbage. It's going to be a Band-Aid fix, and it's going to cause you problems later. Guaranteed, every time. Every single time. D-Row, you're in California. All right, man. I was stationed out in California for a spell. Los Angeles. I was in LA Air Force Base. So let's see, what else is a workshop necessary as a biomed? I don't live in a house. No, a workshop's not necessary. Believe it or not, I do a lot of my stuff on site. Like I've done stuff either in an operating room, I've done it in a hallway, I've done it in a parking lot. I mean, it's a lot of the stuff you can improvise. I mean, certain tools have several functions. You know, this will be a vise. It's also a holder for hot items. I mean, it's also a gripper for fasteners that are stripped off. I mean, you don't need a shop necessarily for that. You can do it on site. Just the biggest thing is to make the site clean. Okay, guys? It's especially around medical, you got to keep it clean, man. Or give the presentation to the staff that's walking by that you're not completely boogering it up. Oh, let's see. There's a product called Screw Grab that's like liquid sandpaper. No shit. Liquid sandpaper. I'll have to look that up, man. Screw Grab. I think, you know, before I don't know. I hate to comment before I even tried it because I'd love to try it. So that's interesting. I'll have to look that up. I'm going to do a test with that. I might actually do a video on that because, I mean, one of the things is downtime. The other thing is whether or not it's successful. we deal with conditions that are not very typical because blood is very corrosive. Urine and other bodily fluids are very, very corrosive. So you can have a perfectly good stainless steel screw like this. You can put blood on it and come back, you know, 1 day later and you've got surface rust on a stainless steel screw. So it depends on the type of stainless. Do I ever plastic weld? You know, I've never tried plastic weld, but I mean, if I was in an isolated area, given guys, I'm in Houston, there is not very much that I can't get within 1 day. So within 24 hours, if I really, really want something like a part, I can get it. But some of you viewers are in very remote countries like Trinidad. Shout out to you. I mean, if you guys don't have access to good logistics and readily accessible parts, then yeah, do what you got to do to make ends meet. And I've seen plastic welding videos on YouTube, and it seems to work pretty good, man. One of the things you have to realize is there's different types of plastic though, and plastic welding does not work for harder plastics. In medical equipment, we use a lot of composite plastics, which are like glass reinforced plastic or nylon glass reinforced. Anyway, what it is mixed in the plastic, there is actually glass, okay? And I don't know if I can tell this guy. Oh yeah, yeah. So I just took a scribe. You can take a knife too. Take it up to your power tool and make a scratch in it and listen. You will hear that grimy, like sandpaper type of sound, and that is you marring through glass. Glass is a very hard material. So what they do is, for a lot of medical equipment, they use either like carbon composites or they use glass reinforced plastic. And I don't know if you can weld that too well because it's a very quality product, and it's like you mold it, and once you mold it, that's it, it's done. So I don't know. That'd be a good video. That really would. See if I can weld certain parts back together. See, a lot of consumer grade electronics, hell, even this guy right here, they're going to use a polypropylene or a just a standard low, what the hell do they call it? It's a low durometer plastic. Okay, so there's no reinforcing. Oh yeah, it's, you can definitely tell. Only because I can scratch it really easily, but there's no graininess when I scratch it, which is the glass. So plastics like this I could weld, but composites are very tricky. Plus they stink. After you apply heat to them, they stink. D-Rod, you take it easy, man. Merry Christmas to you. Thanks for watching, man. That's baking soda. Baking soda, I've heard of that. Baking soda, that would be a good video too. That's an old school trick right there. Baking soda, along with using candle wax. Like you heat candle wax up around the fastener, and it seeps down inside it and allows you to back it out. So that's an old school stuff too. Biomeds do weld, actually. So it depends on the hospital and it depends on your location. I mean, like I said, if you're more remote, you're going to be doing more stuff than somebody that's in a place like Houston. I mean, hell, in hospitals like where I'm at, they don't even run cabling. Like, I could be simple. I could have to run a cable from here to over there. And they have some union guy that's contracted out that will run all the cabling in the hospital. So these places, like in metropolitan areas like this, they contract out everything. And maybe understandably so, you know, because they want everything done right and to code. But as for welding, you know, the one thing I've ever had to weld as a biomed would be I welded to a fastener, and that's an old school mechanics trick. You weld a socket to a fastener, in order to get it to come out, because the heat penetrates deep into the fastener, and like I said, heat helps break up. Trick to using heat on a fastener is different materials that expand and contract at different rates, right? So you have your surrounding material, and then you have your fastener. Well, if you heat up just your fastener, it's going to expand, right? So it's going to force it in the hole even harder. But if you heat up the surrounding area, so if I took my torch and heated up the area around the fastener, that's going to make the hole larger, all right? So it's going to make it easier to pull the fastener out. But what I will do is I'll heat up the fastener and I'll heat up the surrounding area, and then you let it cool off, and then you heat it up again. And what that does is you have this expanding, contracting at different rates. You know, if you got sheet metal and then you got your fastener, this guy is going to hold its heat much longer than the sheet metal. So this guy will cool off and it'll get wider while this guy still maintains its heat. And you're just going to have to play around with it. The trick is, don't force the fastener. Don't strip it out worse than it currently is. And hopefully then you don't have to drill. All right. I know, like, I could do a whole bunch of videos here. And I run into these problems often enough. I would love to show you guys step by step how to solve some of these problems. And I will. But this is just more like a how-to, and to keep you guys in the know that don't cook your fasteners. Don't drill too fast. Don't use the wrong tool. I mean, if you're using power tools like this guy here, and if you knew how many Biomeds round over bits, how many people strip out Phillips fasteners because they use these guys. If it was up to me, I would take power screwdrivers away from most Biomeds because they just mess stuff up. And I hate being the guy that comes in after the fact that tries to clean up somebody else's mess up. So, but it does happen. If you do super glue followed by baking soda, you are absolutely right. And that is true. If I seen one of my Biomeds using super glue and baking soda on a piece of medical equipment, I would eat them alive. I would eat them alive, because there's certain stuff that just legally I would not do, given I'm in the United States. If some of you guys are in other countries, by all means, do what you got to do, man. I still would recommend something like thread certs, even in plastic if you have to. If you strip something out, drill it larger, and use a helicoil. You know, there's these options. And don't take my word for anything, guys. If there's a solution to your problem that you think that you could use, research it on Google and research it on YouTube. There are so many videos where people show you how to drill metals. There are so many videos where people show you how to use helicoils. That's how I learned this stuff, guys. There's lots and lots of videos on nut certs or thread certs. There's so many videos on this stuff. There is even a lot of videos on tapping new holes. All right. This is something that I think all Biomeds should know, how to tap holes. You know, a little bit of oil, take your time, work it back and forth. You know, screw it one time around, half a turn back. One time around, half a turn back. One time around, half a turn back. I think all Biomeds should know how to tap holes. Okay. I've done so many of these, it's not even funny. But it is what it is, guys. I don't want to keep you guys here all night. If you guys have any other questions, I'd be more than happy to try and answer them for you. This was basically just a rundown on metalworking and a lot of the stuff that I do as a Biomed. Like, it seems to be the go-to guy for a lot of this metalworking stuff that happens in my shop. And this is why, because of years of practice and years of messing stuff up. Okay, every single one of these mistakes myself, every single one. I used to cook drill bits. I've broken off many taps. I've broken many miniature drill bits. I have, you know, forgot about using heat. I've made every single one of these mistakes myself, and I am just trying to give you guys a little bit of knowledge of where to go to research some more. I will do another video on removing a fastener or something next time I see it. The last machine, that scale that I had to drill out, I should have did a video on it, but I was kind of in a rush. The customers were a little antsy. That was another Biomed's work order, and it had been sitting around for over a month, and they were very antsy by the time I showed up. And we were able to get them taken care of like that morning, but still, it's, you know, I don't want to record or anything in those type of situations. But Kyle, torque setting on the drill is your best friend. Low and slow. You know, you're so right, man. You are so right. Keep your speeds slow, guys. And if you ever have any questions, feel free to write me. I'm going to go ahead and include my email address in the description down below. If you have any questions about metalworking in the future, or what type of material that you're dealing with, or how you should handle something, please reach out to me. And if anything, I'm going to ask you for photos. So you're going to whip out your phone and take photos of the situation, and I can probably help you from there. But you know, there's so many different materials, so many different grades of like stainless steel, and medical equipment is like the best of the best when it comes to metals. And the best of the best means it messes up tools. All right. If you don't know what you're doing, you're going to snap stuff off. You're going to dull a bunch of drill bits, and you're going to end up costing a lot of money. So when in doubt, ask myself or the community, and we would be more than happy to help you. Okay. Electric screwdrivers are absolutely fine as long as you keep your torque low. The problem with this guy is there is no torque setting on these impact drivers. I use these because I'm really good at trigger control. All right, because I'm very good I'm very experienced with DeWalt's. Now, if I were to switch over to Milwaukee or something, I'd probably mess it up, right? Because I'm not used to their trigger control. Hi, Gia Steve. Thank you so much for watching, you guys. I just want to wish you guys all a very Merry Christmas. It has been one hellacious year for every single one of us, and I am so happy, guys. I just got my first paycheck ever from YouTube, and I ended up buying lunch for my entire shop today. And I wanted to give it back in some way that I could. And because morale seems to be so particularly low because of this year and because of the holidays, and patient census is really high, that what I ended up doing is I just bought lunch for the entire shop today. And, you know, I spent my entire check from YouTube. You know, whatever money I make from this, it honestly doesn't matter to me. We're going to be investing money into new tools. Obviously, you guys know I buy all my own stuff. I'm going to be studying up on new courses and stuff, and I'm going to bring you guys a lot of new content. And fortunately, YouTube is going to allow me a little bit of leeway when it comes to like buying some cool new stuff. But right now, I just wanted to wish you guys all a Merry Christmas, and thank you all so much for the support, guys. I thought for sure I would never be doing this like 2.5 years later, but here I am. And you know, I've gotten so many responses from so many cool people all over the world, man. And what I really love hearing is you guys' own unique situation, because I've been around the United States at several hospitals, but I've got people from Africa, I've got people in Asia, I've got people in the Ukraine, I've got people over in Bahamas, man, you name it. People are writing me from all over the place, and they all have a very unique story. And I love hearing your stories, because we as a career field are interested in where you're at your location, you know, what the direction is of the hospitals in your area, and what it's like logistically. Like, is it hard to get parts? What about equipment? Are you guys getting a lot of used equipment, old equipment? What's going on? And the community is very curious about this kind of stuff. So, guys, I would love to hear you guys' stories, and I try and share as much as I can with other people. But thank you all very much for paying attention to me for an hour and a half. We ran through some stuff. I wish I could stop and show you. We'd be here for 5 hours. If I showed you like step by step, like how to deal with all these, we'd be here for a long time. And I don't want to do that to y'all so close to Christmas. Maybe in the future, I'm gonna booger something up on purpose just to show you guys how I fix it, because seeing and being right there is everything. Okay, that's why I believe in this whole mentorship thing, because I have worked beside some of the master technicians of my life. You know, I've worked alongside master engineers, master auto technicians, master biomeds, and that's why I'm here sharing it with you guys, because they have taught me about all the things I've done wrong. And I'm trying to show you guys how not to make the same mistakes. All right. So guys, thank you all very much. Once again, Merry Christmas, and stay tuned because I'm finishing up a video, a couple videos actually. And as soon as I find some time, maybe over this weekend, I'll be posting them. And I hope you guys like it. And we're going to get some cool new technology. And at the same time, we're going to get some Biomed basics. All right. Thank you all very much. Merry Christmas. Y'all go spend time with your families or significant others. All right. See you guys.